Hey, Uber GTO here, and I want to review the MG4. I initially set this gun up because I wanted to troll and throw C4. I didn't actually think this was going to be a good combo until I used it. That's one of the reasons I used the FLIR. But I quickly found out this was actually a lot better than I was expecting. The MG4 has a box magazine of 200 rounds and it has a firing rate of 800 rounds per minute, which is better than all the other LMGs minus one. And in fact, the only other one that has that fire rate is the M249, the SAW. And if you've used both, you're going to notice right away the guns are very, very similar. The only difference is the recoil is slightly different on both guns. The M249 has slightly less recoil upwards and to the right, but much greater to the left. And traditionally, most guns that have a pull two directions are much easier than one that has a little bouncy to all directions is about equal, because you can compensate for that quite a bit easier. The reload, however, is quite slow with this gun. It doesn't matter if you emptied your entire magazine, or box as we might call it here in this case, or if you have some left, it's still going to be at 6.2 seconds, which is extremely slow. But you do have 200 rounds to empty into them before you even have to. And those rounds are going to hit for a very traditional damage of 25 maximum and a minimum of 18. That drop off starts at 8 meters and the drop off end is at 65 meters. So the gun's not going to hit as hard as something like the PKP, but it is going to hit as hard as every other assault rifle and most carbines in the game. And with that fire rate, it's actually somewhat competitive, but I wouldn't suggest taking this gun up against AEK or FAMAS. At point blank, this gun actually has pretty good hip fire for LMG. Most of the other LMGs are fairly poor at it. I do pretty good with it. Or at least it was working for me well when I was running the screen laser with it. And by now I'm sure you noticed I'm using the FLIR still. I actually quite like this 2x zoom, and with this gun and its decent accuracy, I'm popping people at decent distances, and in like instances like this where I can actually see them better than I normally could, it's actually not as terrible as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was just going to do this just to be a troll, but it actually worked really well, and I've got hundreds of kills with it just like this now. And it's actually my fourth most used weapon as of when I'm posting this. I quite like it. And I have to admit, I'm not really into LMGs in this game. I like them quite a bit in Battlefield 3 as defense and rush games, but for everything else, I really didn't use them. And mostly the reason why I did use them because I would bipod up on a point and destroy a handful of guys, move the same thing, then bomb them with C4, trip claymores, whatever. But in Battlefield 4, since you can use carbines, and I guess DMRs now since they're not quite as trashed, you don't really need to use a heavy LMG with the support class. I mean, you always had PDWs, I guess, too, but those things were only really good for close range, and in some maps, this just wasn't really viable. While in Battlefield 4, the carbines are good in almost every situation you ever could enter, which mean most LMG users, including myself, don't really like to use them much anymore. They're just not as viable as they could be. And it's great to have that huge, heavy fire, but for the most part, most of them do the same amount of damage as most other weapons. And bipod's great and all, that large magazine's great and all, but it's just not the same. And my favorite LMG from Battlefield 3, the PKP, I only have 55 kills with it. I love the gun to death in Battlefield 3, but just here, it's cool that it hits really hard, but it's just not that great, is it? And sadly, that's my second most used LMG, which is pretty poor. I have barely over 50 kills with the second most. And I know the other gun that's very similar to this, the M249, most people will not get it just because they have to go through the Battlefield 4 campaign, which quite a few people don't like, or there's some people that still can't complete it without corruption problems on the PlayStation 4 right now. Anywho, this is my LMG of choice. I really, really, really like it. That's too many reallys, but I really do love it. Lately, it's been all I use in most situations, except for when I'm obviously going to do another class, like I really need to be engineer or sol or whatever. But anytime I get the itch to lay down some C4 and some heavy fire, this is my gun of choice. It's so much fun. I just love sitting here and just letting rounds fly down range and mowing people down. So stop using your ace and your AEK, try this gun out. There's other things to Battlefield than your one gun you always use. If you enjoyed my video, please like and subscribe if you would. I also have two other reviews up there. Please check them out if you will, and have fun. And don't forget to troll.